Hey guys, Preston here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Indiana Pacers firing Nate McMillan. This will be from a Pacers fan's perspective, which I think is probably the most important perspective to have because we're the people who have watched this Pacers team the most and we kind of know what's going on. I will say this, when you go on Twitter or any other place you see, there's plenty of people defending Nate McMillan, but most of them are not Pacers fans. Most Pacers fans are kind of rejoicing at this. Actually, it's kind of funny. I don't think I'd go that far as say I'm like ecstatic, but I do think it's not as shocking as some other people make out to be. I think there's a lot more reasons involved with this. Just real quick, we'll mention the fact that Nate, like I said, Nate wasn't a horrible coach. He had a 183-136 record with the Pacers in his 4 seasons. That's a winning record. It's pretty good. But the problem was 3-16 in the playoffs. Now, I know obviously people will make the excuses. Oh, he had to play the LeBron-led Cavs twice, and the fact that the other 2 series, no Oladipo against the Celtics and no Sabonis against the Heat. But the problem was 3 of the 4 series he was swept. You can't, the sweeps are too much, man. Even without some of these guys, you miss a guy, I get it. But to not win 1 game in 3 different playoff series, it's just, eventually it's too far. I mean, this is a Pacers team that hasn't left the first round in half a decade, 5 years. And so eventually ownership got tired of it and they had to mix it up. I mean, Nate's a good coach, but you got to do something to try to break past the first round. I think this is a gamble that they were obviously willing to take. I also don't think this is the end. I think there could be some other moves that will happen with this Pacers team. I think there's a good chance one of the big men does leave either sometime this offseason, maybe a little later on. I don't think they'll trade Oladipo. I don't think his trade value is that good right now. I think at the very least they'd wait till closer to trade deadline to see if they can, because if he looks good next year, they can either try to re-sign him or they're like, hey guys, he looks good, let's trade him before the trade deadline, So, but Turner is probably who I'd guess would be on the move between him and Sabonis, but who knows. Well, like I said, there's a couple reasons Nate was fired. He did a very good regular season coach, like I said, but here real quick, Alex Golden, Pacers reporter on Twitter, kind of got behind some of these reasons that why Nate was released after 4 years. Like I said, there's plenty of people defending him, and I get it. He's a good coach. I think he'll do okay elsewhere. It's just the playoff record's too much at some point. And so, obviously, like I said, awful record in the playoffs, 3-16. I mean, he hasn't... I think it was his first year is when they had the 7-game series. But after that, it's all been, 3 sweeps, man. It's horrible. It's not good. The offense, also very bad. He said, Golden himself said, 0 ball movement, atrocious offense. The offense is bad. I'm getting to some of those stats later on. It was not good enough, especially in the modern NBA. This one I haven't heard much about, so maybe look into later, but it said Vic wanted a change and it may have impacted this. I don't know if this is maybe it's an attempt for them to keep Victor, or maybe there was some sort of strain in the relationship between Nate McMillan and Victor Oladipo. I do know that when Oladipo was considering sitting out of the bubble, he did not tell Nate McMillan first. The media got to find out before he did, which maybe that caused a strain in the relationship a little bit. Time for a modern style of offense. Yeah, this just goes with the fact that the offensive stats were horrible. I'll get into that later. The least 3-point attempts in the entire league and a lot of stuff like that. Just kind of, you got to get with the times at some point with the modern offenses of the NBA. Another one, this is a bit more interesting, I guess you'd be true, is the pressures on Pritchard. I think I can't say his name right. The GM of the Indiana Pacers, and the fact that Oladipo's in a contract year. It's kind of a real, prove it year. We got to get something done. And I don't think Nate McMillan will be the man to do it. So, when your GM's in a tough spot, you got to make that coaching change, see if you can mix it up a bit. Okay, real quick, just to expand on this even more, I got stats pulled up. This is from teamrankings.com. I'm sure they get their stats from someone else. I believe these numbers are right. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I have a feeling they're pretty close at least. This Pacers offense was bad no matter how you look at it. And points per game, these are the offensive stats. Their defense is pretty solid. I'll give them that, like I said. But on offense, there's a lot of problems that need worked on. Some of it can be attributed to the players, but a lot of it, I think, is the style of game. Points per game for the Pacers, 23rd. That's in the bottom half of the league. It's not good for a playoff team. You don't want to be 23rd in points per game. Average score margin was 13th, so that's not horrible, but it, almost middle of the pack there. Fast break points a game was 18th, back half of the game. Points in the paint, it's 10th. That's still good, but that's, like I said, that's offense. They run a lot of trying to get in the paint, a lot of 2-pointers, and it makes it even harder to come back when you fall behind, stuff like that. Assist is something they do very well in at 7th. I'll give them credit on that. They do sometimes they move the ball well, other times the plays just look like a complete mess. Rebounds is a very interesting issue. I don't know if this falls under the scheming or the players, probably a little bit of both, but they were almost dead last in rebounds at 29th, which is just horrible. That needs worked on no matter what. That seems like more of a personnel decision you'll have to make to try to fix that issue. And let's see. Now we're getting to more other stuff. The field goal, the free throws a game is dead last. The free throw attempts a game and the free throws made a game, both dead last, which makes sense. If you're not taking them, you're going to miss them. And the 3 points attempts a game is also dead last, with the 3 points made being second to last. So like I'm saying, they're not getting to the line, and they're not shooting 3-pointers, and they're not making that many of them when they shoot them either. And so it's not a recipe for success in the modern NBA. Like I said, being 24th in offense is not most playoff teams are not that low when it comes to their offensive stats. That's just something really tough to look at, and it's something they couldn't get past, and there's just time to move on. Like I said, you ask most Pacer fans, they're completely fine with this move. It's the people who don't really watch this team who still are behind Nate McMillan. I get it. Nate's a good guy. I like him as a coach too, but eventually, 3-19 or 3-16. 3-16 in the playoffs, and a very poor offensive performances is the reason he is gone, even with these players who I believe are more than capable of running something higher than the 24th best offense in the league. I think it was the right move. Let me know what you guys think. I completely support the decision. But real quick, since we got some time, we're going to go ahead and an article was published by the Indy Star that kind of mentioned some of the candidates that could replace Nate McMillan. Woj, the Woj bombs, he was the first to bring up the fact that Mike D'Antoni appears to be the leading candidate right now, with the fact that if he becomes available, he's on the last year with the Rockets, and his extension talks broke down all the way back in May. So if he is available, he's going to be pursued by Pacers. Won't be the only team pursuing him, but the Pacers are definitely a team interested. The bigger question will be if the Pacers are willing to pay them, being a small market team and with revenue being all screwed up because of the coronavirus. D'Antoni to me is not a hire I'd want to see. I think it's almost too much of a course correction going from Nate McMillan, who's a very good defensive coach, to D'Antoni, who's basically the offensive elite at offense but really bad at defense. I think maybe... Okay, sorry, I had some interruptions there, but like I was saying, D'Antoni to me seems like too much of a correction, plus the fact that they went all small ball with the Rockets. I don't like that kind of offense system they're running with the Rockets right now. I don't think it's a formula for success. Pair that with the fact that we currently have two big men, and I feel like they'd be underutilized. They're almost limited in a Mike D'Antoni offense. That being said, I don't think it'd be horrible. I'd be okay with it if they're willing to try it. Next up is another option would be Kenny Atkinson, the former Brooklyn Nets coach. Sorry, I'm looking at the list, but my computer's being a little stupid right now. That's whenever I look over here, I'm looking at like my notes and stuff. Okay, so Atkinson was just fired from the Brooklyn Nets, but this was more of a thing that seemed like this. Irving and Durant have a lot of pull over on that team, and they want to get their own kind of, puppet attached to the team, their own coach or culture, however you want to say it. And I think the fact is, Irving and Durant didn't want him, but his record wasn't that impressive, being 118 and 190, but his reputation is better off because of the fact that he really turned around that Nets team, when they had D'Lo and stuff, a team that on paper wasn't that great. He turned them into a very good playoff team. He also was better offensively minded than Nate McMillan is. Oh, another thing I mentioned with D'Antoni, too, if we keep some of our assistant coaches, I believe it's Dan Burke, is very good defensively. If he stayed with the team, maybe that'd help out a D'Antoni-led team. If you have a very good defensive assistant still with a more offensive-minded coach. I think the bigger problem in Indiana was you had a defensive coach and only defensive assistants. You need to mix it up a bit, so I think whoever they hire needs to definitely be better at offense. But hopefully they can keep one of those defensive-minded assistants around because I think they actually do a very good job. But yeah, even some of the Nets guys spoke fondly of Atkinson, saying, they developed and brought him more confidence, and whoever that goes to he's gonna be a great coach. Other option, Mark Jackson has been a popular one I've seen in kind of Pacers fans' comment sections. Obviously, he was a former Pacer and a fan favorite. He last coached with Golden State, but they're going 121 and 109. But it's kind of a thing where he got replaced by Kerr, and then right after Kerr came in, he went on to start winning stuff. Kerr led the Warriors to a championship in their first season, led to some questions about Jackson's success. Some view it the other way, though, where they say Jackson was building that team up and Kerr swooped in and got all the credit, and Jackson was left on the side. I don't think Mark Jackson would be a horrible move. I do have some questions about the fact, he hasn't coached in a long time and he's been more involved with the media. But, I definitely get it. He'd definitely be a fan favorite here in Indiana, and I think he could do a pretty good job. We'll just have to see. Jason Kidd is another option, although, like I said, some of these coaches, obviously there's other positions available to the Nets, the Pelicans, the Sixers. There's a lot of teams who need coaches this year, and the unfortunate part about being a small market team like the Pacers is you probably won't be most of these coaches' first option. So you're either going to be willing to spend or you're going to have to take what's left. That being said, I'm okay with most of these coaches. Like any of the guys I'm listed, I wouldn't be like, what are you doing? I'm so mad if any of them land up with Indiana. I think they're all pretty solid options. But to me, I think I'd like Kenny Atkinson the most. And I'd be hesitant with Mark D'Antoni, which appears to be their top option. I'd definitely be hesitant. But if they keep a defensive assistant and he can prove he can work well with Sabonis and stuff, I'll be, obviously I'd be happy. But I don't think any of them would do a horrible job, like I said. Kidd is, he's currently assistant with the Lakers. He's viewed pretty respectably around the league right now. I think he'd do a pretty solid job. But like I said, Kidd seems like someone who would go to a bigger team if he had the opportunity. Another option would be Ty Lue, but this one seems almost like a write-in that he'll probably be the coach that ends up at the Nets. He's worked with Kyrie in the past. They have a good relationship. But I think Lue's better at managing superstars than he is working with kind of the lower guys. Because I didn't think he did real great as soon as LeBron led the Cavs. Obviously, that was a bad team, though. But you know what I mean. I think he's better off with those big market teams, and he'll probably end up with the Nets anyways. But those are just some of the options the Pacers could use. Let me know if there's anyone else who think maybe they pull someone from the college ranks, like, give me a sec. Jay Wright from Villanova or something like that. I know it's a stretch, and pulling coaches right out of college isn't always the best option, but maybe there's some assistant or something we don't heard of. All I know is I'll be more ready to evaluate whoever they hire once they're actually hired. And I think we shouldn't rush the judgment right away, especially Pacers fans who are really calling for McMillan to be fired. You got your wish, so let the process play out. Hopefully we get someone good. But just in advance, two of the best teams in the league right now, the Bucks and Raptors, both hired relatively, lower name people, assistants. I mean, the Raptors fired a coach of the year to bring in Nick Nurse, who's now a coach of the year and done better than the other guy did. I'm sorry I forgot his name, but you know who I'm talking about. So it's not always about the biggest name. It's always about the best fit, and I just hope the Pacers find that and it works out. They definitely need someone more offensively minded, though. I think the Pacers are definitely showing they're aggressive and committed to winning. I really enjoy seeing that. It'll be very interesting to see what the Pacers do with the rest of the offseason. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click right over here to subscribe. Check out any recommended videos over here, and I got a playlist for just sports-related content you can click on too. I'll probably have a Pacers or basketball-related playlist eventually, but for now, that's just all my sports videos. I'm pointing, but they might be in different places by the time I edit this, but we'll find out. Anyways, yeah, thank you for watching. Go ahead and comment below who you think the Pacers should hire in the first place, and if you think it was a good or bad move, go ahead and let me know. I'd love to discuss this with anyone, Pacers fans or otherwise. All right, guys, thank you for watching. This is KMA Preston signing out. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm repetitive.